Well, let's speak now to Jonathan Davis, who's an economist and wealth manager. Good morning, Jonathan.
Hello, Nikki.
Tell me, in hearing those comments there from Rachel Holmes, head of welfare policy at the Citizens Advice Bureau, did you realise that this is the most common type of debt problem, first of all?
No, I did not.
And so, upon hearing that, does it surprise you?
Actually, anecdotally, it doesn't hugely surprise me because I remember when the changes were coming in about a year ago that there were people in the media saying this is going to cause problems for those who are not used to paying towards council tax. And it did occur to me at the time, well, I'll bet in a year's time we're going to be hearing stories about that. And sure enough, that's what's happening. But, let's put it into context, please, Nikki. The big picture, first of all, is that the country is bankrupt. This is what the media is not talking about. Already the government, because of decades of borrowing, so not just the current government, is paying £1 billion a week just for interest on the loans. So we're bankrupt. We've borrowed so much. So this is yet another instance of how the government, whichever government it is, and that new Labour MEP that you interviewed there, talking about all the ills of society, well, I'm sorry, she and the political class are to blame for it because they've been promising us the earth for decades and pretending that it would be free.
Well, no, but
it wasn't free. It was based on borrowing. We're now at the end of the line, and more people are being affected detrimentally because of the big picture. Now let's look at the little picture. Whether it's council tax or income tax or VAT, if you don't pay your taxes, and this is part of the system, then they'll throw you in jail, or they'll take away your other possessions. That is the system, and people are going to have to get used to that. What has been for the last 3 or 4 decades, that basically someone will come along and sort out the ills of society and the problems. No. There's no one anymore who can do it.
Right. Jonathan, thank you for all the doom-mongering. Now tell us, as a wealth manager, how you would advise people, as opposed to the government, people to deal with their debts. Because
Absolutely.
I do know many of those struggling with these council tax payments had other debts. 1 in 6 had a credit or store card issue. 1 in 5 had a problem with an unsecured personal loan. 5% had mortgage arrears. What do we do? How do we help people?
Yeah. Well, people have to take responsibility. They have to stop having been brainwashed into thinking that someone will sort out their problems. They have to take personal responsibility. So, we've had a big increase in employment, apparently, but what is not being understood is that it's actually an increase in what we call underemployment. What that means is those who were on big incomes full-time are now part-time, or they've gone self-employed from their back bedroom, as I call it, or they're doing low-level, low-skill, low-pay jobs, MIC jobs, as I call them, a high increase in low-skill, low-paid jobs. The cost of living is higher than earnings. Therefore, we have to get away from putting it on tick. We have to consume less as individuals. We have to pay down our debts. We have to reduce our lifestyles and stop pretending that we're still in the same financial position that we were 5 years ago.
So the idea that council tax arrears are the most common problem being correlated to the changes in welfare, you agree that that is an issue and a problem?
Absolutely. There are so many problems in our society which very few are focusing on. I agree with you. The level of taxation that we have in this country is too high. Therefore, it's creating difficulties for something like 80% of the population. This particular issue is just yet another issue contributing to the death financially of whole swathes of the population.
Hilary Benn, the Shadow Secretary of State for Communities and Local Government, had said that these figures show exactly why the architect of the original poll tax, Patrick Jenkin, warned that what the government was doing would be poll tax Mark II. So combined with the bedroom tax, all these changes have pushed those who have the lowest incomes into debt. And that includes, as you point out, the disabled, carers, war widows, and they now face things like summonses and bailiffs and court hearings because they're paying for the first time. Now, a lot of people will feel sorry for that, for these people, but is your belief that they've already overextended themselves in the first place to be in that situation?
I don't know about individuals' situations. I'm saying in general, because as an economist, I can only take a big picture. In general, people believe that someone else will sort out their problems.
And that's a societal problem, isn't it?
To answer your question, people have not yet woken up to the fact that the financial position of the country and of their own community and locality is very different from some years ago. They need to wake up to the realities of their situation.
Jonathan Davis, thank you very much for your expertise this morning. Jonathan Davis, who began the conversation by saying, look, we need to realise we are bankrupt